Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a special edition of the Media Boat Podcast, our end of the year wrap up,
Yes.
where we talk about movies, TV, music, and video games, all wrapped up for 2025, but not necessarily in that order.
Mhm.
My name is Mike, his name is Matt.
My name is Matt, and his name is Mike, and thank you for joining us. Like he said, this is the wrap-up edition of the Media Boat Podcast. We have four of these in your way to cover all four of our sections of the show. This time, we're going to be talking about the video games of 2025. How this works is we start with a recap of the stories of the year going month by month. Then we choose one story, one news story from the world of video games to be our number one story of the year, the one that most impacted the year that was 2025. Once we choose that, we go into our individual top five games where we'll trade places and decide what our top fives are, leading to us choosing one video game to crown as the Media Boat video game of the year. So, with that said, let's harken back, way, way back to the month that was January of 2025, where the year began.
Yep, and we're going to start with Ubisoft, which will
Yeah,
be a running story
as always.
as Ubisoft usually does, as they have announced the delay of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Womp womp.
Womp womp.
Also, they hinted at, rumored at, and then eventually confirmed
Yeah.
the rumored buyout from Tencent, as
Yeah.
well as the layoffs.
So yeah, what actually happened was a little bit more complicated than that. The entire company was not bought, but what they did was is that they broke off a separate entity that is now going to be responsible for publishing the biggest Ubisoft titles. So this frees up the rest of Ubisoft to do smaller projects. It's complicated, but just know the Tencent money was involved.
Right. That new spin-off company would solely cover its three big franchises: Assassin's Creed,
Right.
Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. And
Yes.
Tencent invested in specifically
Those.
those franchises, not
Yeah.
the other split.
Right. So it does mean that the future of Assassin's Creed looks to be a little more complicated than it was before. But hey, we'll see what happens.
Uh, Also in big money news, Nvidia announced its new graphics card and eventually became the US stock market at some point.
Yeah, Nvidia could be its own story of the year, honestly. There's a lot of honestly real powerful
Mhm.
competitors for story of the year this year. The Nvidia roller coaster though was definitely one of them. Like you said, they announced the 5000 series, they put them out, they were exorbitantly priced for maybe diminishing returns performance wise, and then ended up being, like you said, a tech story of the story that kept coming back because of the stock market, because of their use in AI and generative AI. And now all of a sudden, those components have gotten incredibly expensive, graphics cards and RAM now because of AI. So it's all come to a head now where building a PC seems even more impossible than before because of corporate greed. But hey, welcome to 2025.
Uh, we With corporate greed comes cancellations, as
Yeah.
Sony canceled two unannounced live service games, one of which was to believe a God of War live service game.
Yeah, this continues Sony's love, or PlayStation specifically, love and hate relationship, up and down relationship with the free to play sector.
Mhm.
They were all gung ho towards it, and then Concord came out and bombed within 2 weeks, and now they're really gun shy. And so, needless to say, the God of War branded product was not coming along like they wanted it to, and so they, no pun intended, they axed it. So yeah, we'll never know what that game would have been.
I mean, this goes hand in hand with the other canceled Sony games that of was it The Last of Us, which got
Yeah,
turned into its own game, which got
its
turned into
own
a live service
multiplayer
game, which
thing that
got
also got
canceled,
axed. Yeah.
multiplayer. Yep.
Yeah, now they're really betting now on Bungie's marathon to click, and who knows if it's going to succeed where the others couldn't.
We also had Electronic Arts losing $6 billion in a market value following the underperformance of FC 25 and Dragon Age, which would lead to the downsizing of BioWare, as
Yes.
the studio switched its full attention and resources to an upcoming Mass Effect 5.
Yeah, well, EA, we'll get to what ended up happening to EA by the end of the calendar year. Let's just say it is not the company that it once was and probably will never return to it. However, yeah, it was interesting to see them finally show weakness in their biggest series, which is their their soccer game, football game internationally. But yeah, FC 25 still sold. It was still the best-selling game of the year internationally because it always will be, but it was still significant enough of a disappointment for them that they did have to cut that $6 billion. Dragon Age is mentioned here, but I want to be clear that that is not nearly the hit that it took with FC. I know that the a lot of outlets wanted to focus on Dragon Age because it was already a let's say emblematic of controversy for a certain groups of real awful gamer guys, and so it got the clicks for it, but really it was FC that underperformed. And yeah, like I said, it didn't end up mattering because EA now is a completely different beast for reasons we'll get into later.
Yep. Going into February, we had Warner Brothers shutting down its fighting game Multi versus within a year and a half of it actually, well, releasing and re-releasing.
Right.
Yeah, because it was
Yeah.
released in May of 2024 and then officially shut down in May of 2025.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah. Warner Brothers
online buy.
continued to not know how to run their games division. And
We'll
we'll
talk more
talk
about Warner
more about
Brothers
Warner
in
Brothers in
others.
other sections in this wrap up podcast. Video games was not as affected in the Warner Brothers shakeup, but it will be in 2026. But we'll talk about it. And on,
Yes,
let's say, movies, I think is where we'll talk about that.
I believe
Do you have it on
so.
television?
No, I have it in
Okay.
movies.
All
I've
right.
said another
Yeah.
television story.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. But speaking of getting there, it's here, or it's getting here. AI generative models,
Oh.
as Xbox announced Muse, which is an AI model that generates game visuals and controller actions. Uh, you know, in based in collaboration with Ninja Theory.
Yeah, this was interesting because the way they pitched it was like, hey, look at this thing. People are going to be able to do this to create full games, except the actual footage that they showed looked terrible. And they kept like hedging it and being like, well, this is just an example of something that's in progress and that we're not really sure. And sure enough, they've never mentioned it since. Seems to imply that this was an internal thing that was never really supposed to be seen by external, like a general audience, and they just had to do it for whatever reason, or it was something that they now bailed on. Either way, it is emblematic of the year that Microsoft has had, which we will talk about, which is just throwing anything at the wall to see what sticks, is the vibe that I get from over there. And let's just say there's not a lot on that wall, folks.
No, there is not.
We'll get there.
Uh, well, we'll definitely get there. Microsoft is
Yeah.
its own thing.
So, yeah.
Yep. But hey, this would be a Media Boat podcast if we didn't talk about Pokemon. And Pokemon. Well, one, Pokemon announced a collaboration with Lego, which is going to be awesome in
Yeah.
2026, though.
Yeah.
But Pokemon Go company, Niantic, which is also the company behind Hunter now, and it's being sold to Monopoly Go maker Scopely.
Yeah.
But Scopely is kind of backed by the Saudi investment fund.
Yeah, I have it down here. The details are Scopely is a subsidiary of the Savvy Games Group, which was founded by the Public Investment Fund, which is, of course, controlled by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. So yes, it does. So this does make, as I mentioned, Pokemon Go and Live Golf cousins now.
Yep.
But I should also mention Monopoly Go is still the biggest mobile game on the market right now. It is insane how much revenue they make from that thing. It's the game that everybody is playing and no one talks about. I've personally never played it, but like
Oh, I did
I'm
play
sure.
this.
See, there you go. It was such a huge mobile game and such a huge hit that a lot of people are way into this thing. And so Scopely has made a lot of money. And this is probably leads to them being purchasing other very popular game studios. But yes, we always try to mention when the public investment fund is involved. This is not nearly the end of their effect on the year in media for sure, because they were also involved in that EA thing that we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah, I did play Monopoly Go because it kept popping up on
Yeah.
monthly reports on like money-making apps. I was
Hmm.
like, okay, is it really that interesting if like for people just to give this money? The answer
Yeah.
is no, but people do it anyways.
It's not, no, the game is fine, but like the thing is that somehow the brand recognition of Monopoly has just put that
Mhm.
thing through the stratosphere. It is by far the most successful mobile game. It is wild.
Uh, I mean, we'll get to mobile games later
Yeah.
too. But yeah, here's our Ubisoft split story, which you don't need to talk about again. Uh, but yeah, those three main IPs are now its own funding, its own separate account, now run by Tencent. And then we have, knock it up there, story of the year. Um, I mean, I could probably just write it right now. The Nintendo Switch 2 was announced and released.
Yeah.
It launched on June 5th for the low, semi-affordable price of $450 for their system, or $500 to get it bundled with Mario Kart World.
Yeah. Yeah, I picked this thing up. I am glad that I did. I was unsure exactly at the top, like whether or not I was making a good investment. But as you'll see from my top five list, I think it was worth the price. It was kind of hard to get in that first few weeks. But now you can just go to a store and get one. They were really fast with making sure that there was stock for these systems. And there is no like it's not like the Switch 1. It's not like the PS5. It's not like the Xbox Series X. They really pulled this off and it's just a thing you can buy. And thus, they have record-breaking sales of this thing. It is like by far now on pace to be Nintendo's best-selling console ever, which is insane considering that this company made the Nintendo DS and this company made the Wii. Like think about it in that way. Like this thing is going to be by far the most popular by when it's all said and done. It is an insane sales situation.
And it continues to be a insane sales because, like I said,
Yeah.
if you didn't pick one up before, check under your tree. Maybe you got one.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, and they also announced a slew of first-party games, like it's Mario Kart World,
Yep.
Donkey Kong Bonanza,
Yeah.
Kirby Air Riders.
Yes.
Sakurai was back
Yeah.
with ports of Zelda games, Metro games, Kirby games, Mario Party games, Legends EA getting a Switch 2 port. Uh, Two little hiccups on that though. One, they raised the cost price on those games though. They came
Yeah.
$70 to $80 a pop.
Yeah, that was the downside of the Switch 2 stuff is that as much as everybody was like, very excited for new Nintendo stuff, they took advantage of that excitement and raised the prices on pretty much everything. You can say that tariffs had a piece of this as the timing was just kind of in that whirlwind of tariff talk from our government. And so it was definitely affected. But that being said, Nintendo could have dealt with the loss there, but they just refused to, and thus everything was a little bit more expensive on the accessories and game side than we anticipated. So yeah, you win some and you lose some.
hmm we also had notable third-party games because the Switch 2, unlike the Switch, would allow 4K support to be docked and a 1080p screen
Yeah,
when playing mobilized, as well as 120 frames rate capability.
yeah, pretty
So
cool.
all say other consoles now getting in on the Switch 2, including Elden Ring, Hyrule Warriors, Deltarune, Final Fantasy, the remake, Cyberpunk 2077, Split Fiction, Street Fighter 6, Hades 2, EA Sports FC, Madden, NBA, basically it allowed all other kind of locked out party games to come to the Switch too,
Yeah. Yeah.
because now they have the specs for it.
I mean, yeah, like the argument is that that thing is basically a PS4 Pro. And so anything that was
Mhm,
is has a PS4 version, it's really easy to port up to Switch too. They're very similar beasts. And so yeah, it's like really modernized the ability for third-party publishers to put out their games.
mhm. Yeah, and then yeah, pre-orders was a fiasco, but everyone did eventually get them.
Yeah.
All right. And then we get to some depressing news, as the future of Giant Bomb was in doubt following prominent staff departures.
Was is the key here because Giant Bomb had quite a roller coaster of a year. It did have that work that fallout, I guess you could say, with Fandom, who was the company that previously owned them, and them of the ad-infused wikis. But eventually, they negotiated a deal with Fandom and bought the website and everything under it out from under Fandom. So now Giant Bomb is an independent like employee owned website. They actually just launched their new version of their website just this past week. They are, in my opinion, just as strong as ever. They're putting out so much great content. They're just like the personalities are wonderful. If you've ever liked Giant Bomb in the past, go back and try this new version because there are some really great stuff that they're doing over there. And I'm so happy that they didn't succumb to corporate overlords and the ultimate like demise that we thought they were going to. And they survived against all odds. They survived. So congratulations to them.
Yay! I'm sure you're happy.
But not all websites were as lucky.
No, because Polygon had
Yeah.
been sold to Valnet, with the majority of its staff laid off.
And unfortunately, that has not gone as well. Some people were able to escape and do their own ventures elsewhere, but Polygon is still a website, but it's honestly full of really awful clickbaity headlines and AI stuff, and it's just a shell of its former self.
All right. We also had unfortunate news: hundreds of jobs lost as EA cut to respawn game projects.
Yeah. Again,
Other
we'll talk
EA
about EA, but
stuff.
yes.
Yes. And then also in downer news, downer for your wallet and for your patience, Grand Theft Auto 6 was announced and then delayed and then delayed again and delayed like a couple weeks ago.
Well, it wasn't announced this year to be clear, but
Yes.
it did suffer not one but two different delays into 2026. You have here that at this point it was delayed to May of the next year, but more recently it has been then shot further into 2026 to be a November title. So yeah, we're not going to have our hands on GTA 6 until a almost a full calendar year from now. So hold on and wait because it's just going to be a little longer for that.
Yes, because at least you will get GTA 6 at some point.
Some point, but who
Yes,
knows when?
unlike us over here in Kingdom Hearts land, who will get
Yes.
Kingdom Hearts 4 at some point.
I saw
Maybe.
so many people that were like got their hopes up for the Game Awards for Kingdom Hearts 4 again, and I'm like, you guys are doing this to yourself every single time. But hey, they need to have some sort of target now that Hollow Knight Silk Song's out. They need to have some sort of thing to complain about when it comes to big announcements. So Kingdom Hearts 4 is the new one.
Yes, it is. Especially since Kingdom Hearts Missing Link was canceled this past
Yeah,
year.
no more of that.
Yeah. Uh, I know. Goodbye. Hopes and dreams. Let's see. Let's talk Epic for a little bit here, as
Yeah.
Fortnite was in a battle with SAG-AFTRA over the use of Darth Vader AI chatbots.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I think just like when we talked about our music stories and the music podcast, which should be on your feed right now, is like, yeah, like AI is going to slowly creep into this stuff when publishers are just laissez-faire about it. And this is a perfect example. But they were very, very quick, thankfully, to at least edit some of the weirdness that was happening with the Darth Vader character. I believe it was like Not saying the best stuff when prompted, and so they did kind of cut and like make sure that was only saying the things that were roughly in universe and pre-programmed for it to say. But still, that is the risk that you take when you introduce an AI chatbot into your game, and hopefully other publishers and developers will take note.
Yep. And then speaking of Fortnite, their continuous battle with Apple getting onto iPhones actually had a conclusion this year.
Yeah, it did. It's back on mobile stores. They ended up winning that case. Apple did try to push back on that. It has not been appealed quite yet. So as of right now, you can again play Fortnite on the iOS platform.
Yep. And then Epic also announced a AI tool use in MetaHuman Creator as part of Unreal Engine 5.6 update.
Yeah, I don't even remember this, which means that it probably didn't actually have that much of an impact.
Yep. And then we got into Summer Games Fest,
Yeah,
which no longer includes E3 out of there.
yeah.
But yeah, just a lot of stuff announced for this year. A lot of stuff came and went. No real big, like, oh my God, moments from
I
this year.
yeah, I think the biggest deal probably was the full reveal of Donkey Kong Bonanza, a game that we'll talk about a little bit later.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that that was probably the biggest moment for me. But yeah, overall, kind of a quieter Summer Games Fest. Not that many huge announcements this year.
Oh, that's because Hearts 4 wasn't there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And then let's get into it. The Xbox
Yes.
Chaos. So, Microsoft's gaming division made a fresh round of layoffs within the company to inform employees across its business of its cuts. And according to the Seattle Times, that's as much as 4% of its division, or roughly 9,100 people
Yeah.
of the company across all departments, including gaming.
So yeah, this was it seems like had its ties into the company overall moving towards AI, needing to reserve certain costs for AI and taking them out of other divisions. And so this included the gaming division. Later, we'd learn that there was like a pressure within the gaming division of the company to make a ridiculous profit, way more of a profit than they were already making. Keep in mind, the Xbox division is not like losing money. It is a money-making division for Microsoft. It's just not high enough to pay for the AI bullshit that CEO Satya Nadella wants to focus on. So the whole company got affected by this, and that's why you saw the massive layoffs. And Xbox was really hurt by this. Of course, the biggest pain points came to their in-house studios. You saw the cancellation of several major Xbox projects, including Rare's Everwild and the reboot of Perfect Dark that was happening with in a team in association with Crystal Dynamics. So you had a lot of death of big projects that were really hyped by Microsoft themselves that aren't even going to see the light of day. It was only the first salvo, bless you, in what would become, like I hinted at earlier, the most dire year for Xbox I think they've ever had. And we'll talk about that more later.
Yay. Let's see here. Scrolling on down, we had IGN Creators Guild announced a work to rule action in response to layoffs by IGN and continued added use of AI copyright. So the guild announced that they would work to the letter of their contracts. No more, no less. Show up and doing their jobs and leaving on time.
Thumbs up. You need more of these guilds and unions standing up to these corporate practices as we get more like push towards overworking, which is going to happen when there's AI tools run amok and all sorts of things like that. So
Yep. We had not one, not two, but three crossovers with video games and movies,
yeah.
where we got the official announcement of the next Mario Brothers movie in Mario Brothers Galaxy.
Yep.
We also got the announcement of Donkey Kong being made into a movie. And we got the first images of Legend of Zelda movie as well.
Right.
But
Yes.
not to be outdone, Kojima Productions announced that it would be also making a movie as well, based
Yes.
off of Death Stranding.
Yeah. Along with some other new game projects, they showed more footage of Kojima's OD, the horror game that's published by
Hmm.
Xbox, and a what was the other one? It was some spy game for PlayStation. I forget what the title of that game is, but yeah,
Fizzant.
isn't right. Bad name.
Yes, because it is and it fizzant.
Anyway,
Anyways, yeah, speaking of Nintendo stuff, Doug Bowser leaving. Bowser will no longer be head of Nintendo.
yeah.
Mario has one out.
Yeah, we'll miss him. I thought he was all right. He was a decent corporate spokesman. It was fun that he had the name Bowser.
Mhm.
But he's passing the torch to a woman who has been with the company for a very long time. So yeah, I have no doubts that the hopefully she'll keep the train running in the right way.
And then, here we go. Here's our big EA story of the year.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
A
Asterisk.
Yes, Astra. EA has confirmed that it will be acquired by a group of private investors, including the Saudi Arabia's Foreign Wealth Fund.
Yes.
It's an all crash call cash transaction, crashing itself in
I
the
was gonna
EA
say,
value.
all crash transition is a very Freudian slip.
It's very act two. It's a $55 billion acquisition of
Yeah.
100% of the company.
Yeah, so you have a little bit of whiplash with the story because initially EA representatives were like, "Oh yeah, this is going to be like no this business as usual over here at EA. We're still making Mass Effect. We're still making all these games that we promised and we just renewed our Madden deal with the NFL for 5 more years and nothing's going to change, right?" But then you have follow-up stories where it's revealed that the Saudis basically own the entirety of EA now. And so they're going to call the shots over there. So as much as EA says that they're going to stay an independent individual organization, it's really hard to believe that considering what that investment fund has done with similar companies that they've purchased. Um, so yes, this is where we can talk about like, yeah, this is another example of that culture washing, which is adjacent to their sports washing that they've been
Mhm.
doing, whereas basically the government is trying to cover up their own crimes by making you believe that they own all the stuff you like. So yeah, EA, I really have my doubts that it will be the EA that we knew it as. Well, whatever it was in the first place, right? It's definitely not even close to what it was in the 2000s or in the 90s. But yeah, it's going to be harder now for them to develop games in the way that they did before, especially games like Mass Effect, which really leads you to wonder what the future of labels like BioWare even are. There's a lot of questions that have yet to be answered about what this means for EA.
Yep, just waiting for that crossover of Mass Effect Go to happen.
Ugh, yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see.
Alright. We also had Microsoft announcing a 50% increase in Xbox Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah.
But hey, at least you get Ubisoft Plus Classics Collection
Oh, good. And Fortnite Crew. Awesome.
and Fortnite Crew. In terms of bosses being retiring, let go, ousted, pick your word of choice here. Uh, Alexei Cotier departed from Ubisoft after more than 20 years with the company.
Yeah, this of course is in the way in the ripples of the deal that Ubisoft made that will separate the Assassin's Creed publisher from Ubisoft proper. So yeah, it made sense that leadership maybe wasn't on board with that.
We also had Greg Meles of Rare Studios also leaving his company.
Yeah, Greg Mails, the guy who is like responsible for some of the biggest rare games, including Banjo-Kazooie, Grabbed by the Ghoulies, Viva Pinata, even way back to Donkey Kong Country. The guy gave his life to that company, and yep, he's retiring.
Yep. And last bit of big news, Valve announced the release of three new products. A new VR headset called Steam Frame, a new controller called the Steam Controller,
Mhm.
and then a new console called the Steam Machine. Steam
Yes.
Machine
Keep an
coming in
eye on this.
2026.
Yes, keep an eye on this story as this will probably be an important thing in 26. Steam getting into the console market technically already happened, but now it feels like it's the perfect time for it after the success of the Steam Deck. So, depending on pricing, I think that this could be a real competitor in the field. They say that they're going to price it similar to a PC. What that means could mean anything from I've seen numbers as low as $600 to $700 to as high as $1,200. We have yet to see exactly what Valve has in mind, but I think that will be the determining factor to see how mainstream of a device these things can be. But if they are, this could change a lot of how we think about console gaming because being able to just access your Steam library just easy like that is a lot of people's dream scenario. And I know it's yours. So, so yeah, we'll see.
Yep. All right. And then last bit of note here as we're into December, Game Awards,
Yeah.
aka the Expedition 33 Awards.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it proper on the podcast itself because we have not recorded since they happened. But yes,
Shh,
your big
quiet.
winner. It's fine. Your big winner was Claire Obscure Expedition 33, the French developed RPG that I think has changed a lot of people's minds about turn-based RPGs, whether or not there's baggage, cultural baggage there, which has been the topic du jour for video game circles this week. Yes, roll your eyes now. But yeah, that was your big winner, setting a new record for Game of the Year, for sorry, Game Awards wins in a single year. So congratulations to that team.
Yep. But now we need to congratulate ourselves and pick a story
Yes.
of the year.
We do. I have one with a bullet. I'm even let's move right past what you have on the wrap up because I'm just going to make an argument for something that is not on any of these. Maybe
Really?
it's mentioned briefly in consolidation, but I don't see this as a consolidation story. It's Xbox. I'm sorry. That is the story of the year for me. It is that there has never been in my lifetime of like paying attention to video game news, which is literally almost 30 years now of looking at this industry and seeing its ups and downs. I have never seen a console manufacturer go so downhill in a single calendar year and make so many bad decisions and make so many anti-consumer decisions. This is a unique thing that I've not seen since Sega got out of the console market back in like 2001 when they basically gave up and waved the right white flag to the PlayStation 2. Like it is that bad. In fact, I would argue that this is even more insane. So let's recap, right? We talked about the layoffs. We talked about Microsoft basically gutting the gaming
Hmm.
division because of AI. Then we talked about them raising the price on not just Game Pass, but their consoles too. The Xbox Series X is a $750 device. It was not intended to be that high, but because of tariffs, because of component manufacturing, and because Microsoft doesn't really have any buddy telling them they can't do this, they've raised the price to an exorbitant amount that nobody can afford. So they're pricing people out of their console. They're they're pricing people out of the thing that they were trying to sell consoles with, Game Pass. They're making it even a harder argument for Game Pass because of that. And then on top of all that, they're confusing the people who are actually using Game Pass by having too many tiers and too many differences in what you actually get. Then of course you have the stuff that started last year, which is Microsoft's new focus on, well, we're going to put on our games on everything. Here's the thing. We talked about that last year in detail about how this changes what Xbox is as a brand. They want you to believe that Xbox is a thing that you can play on any device. Everything is an Xbox, right? That's what they said going
Yep.
into this year, that was going to be what they're focusing on. But they're not even confident in that. This year they announced they partnered with the what's the company that makes those handheld, not the Steam Deck, but the Allies?
Yeah, Ally
Uh,
X ROG.
ROG. Yeah.
ROG.
So they partnered with the ROG to put the Ally X, which is this Xbox branded Ally device. But people who bought it were like, this is not an Xbox. This is just one of their allies with an Xbox UI slapped into it that doesn't even work half the time. So otherwise, it's just a Windows 11 device. So you're telling me that I'm supposed to believe that Microsoft's future is in Xboxifying these different products and making you believe that they are an Xbox just as much as the Xbox is an Xbox. But if you can't play Xbox Series X games on it, you can only play PC games released on the Xbox store on Windows, then
Mhm.
that's not an Xbox. Like you're confusing now what the term that even means. So in one calendar year, we've gone from everything is an Xbox to what the hell is an Xbox anymore? What is Xbox? What do they stand for? And then worst thing about all of this is that the people responsible for this still have jobs and are still acting like nothing happened. Phil Spencer's got to go. Like the guy used to be, everybody adored him. Like, oh, the nice gaming CEO. Oh, he actually plays games. Oh, he sits down with, websites on Giant Bomb on the couch and will talk to Jeff Gerstmann about stuff. It's like that Phil Spencer is dead. Now he's just a corporate suit like the rest of them, who is just pretending to have the minds of gamers in mind, but still making all these decisions. Also, what the hell is happening to Halo? Like, they're re-releasing a game that's already been re-released to put it on PlayStation 5 for an audience that isn't even going to get the multiplayer mode on it. It's like they completely gave up. Like Xbox as a brand doesn't mean anything anymore. It is no longer a legacy. They've ruined their legacy. It is no longer a system that you can buy at a reasonable price. It is no longer a subscription service that seems appealing. So going into 2026, they want us to believe that there's going to be a future for the Xbox brand, that there's going to be a physical console that will come out probably in 2027 that you can buy, whether it's handheld or console itself. They're making deals with the AMD saying that this is going to be a thing, but they're not instilling any confidence that there will be any games for it left, any people working on it, and any kind of mission statement. I think it's done, folks. I think we're done. Like I can't imagine them bouncing back from it. This is worse than the Xbox One chaos. This is the probably the craziest thing I've ever seen a console manufacturer do. And I think it is redefining what we believe as consoles and console manufacturers. And it's all different from here. Like I think this is by far the story of the year. And it's insane that you didn't have this broken out as its own thing because of how chaotic it's been.
Well, I know we've in the past, I think 2 years ago, we had Microsoft as our store of the year,
Yeah,
but it was through acquisitions and
right.
buying everything in Microsoft Studios.
And you look back at that and it seems insane, right? Because the Microsoft Now of 2025, they don't have the cash for that anymore. Like, I mean, Microsoft does, but Xbox doesn't. Like, they made investments for stuff that never paid off. Like, the Activision stuff got them Call of Duty, but beyond that, it is like really bleak what it means, especially now that Call of Duty basically had a down year. I don't know if you saw this, but Xbox had to release a statement about Black Ops 7 being disappointing and said, sorry, our bad. We're not going to do back-to-back Call of Duty releases in the same like sub franchise anymore because they realized that doing Black Ops 7 a year after Black Ops 6 was really diminishing returns and nobody cares anymore. It's that bad.
Xbox Chaos,
Yeah,
story of the
it's a good name.
year.
That's a good name. But yeah, we can talk about the other ones if you want, if you have an argument for them.
I mean, whenever a new console comes out, it's all most of the time it can be
Yeah,
described as story of the year. Switch 2, huge,
yeah.
huge
It was a
numbers,
mix.
huge
I
games.
don't I don't
Big.
disagree. Yeah, there
Yep.
was some really cool stuff, but I think the thing with the Switch 2 is that the console does not matter as much as the games on them, and I will give a couple of Switch 2 games their due in my top 5. So,
Right.
we will talk
We
about some
also
Switch 2.
we also have consolidation and acquisitions in Warner Brothers shutting down multiverses,
Yeah.
Monolith Studios closing down,
Yeah.
EA closing down BioWare, Respawn layoff devs, Polygon sold, Future Giant Bomb, whatever.
Mhm.
But then also like EA being acquired by the Saudi Arabia, $55 billion. Niantic being bought for 3.5 billion. Tencent investing in control of Ubisoft for $1.6 billion. So a lot of uh, I was called foreign money, but about a lot of investments in billions of dollars being pumped
Yeah.
into video games.
Yeah, I mean, I see this a little bit of as business as usual because this is just what's been happening the last 5 years. I think since
Yeah.
the pandemic, we've seen a huge increase in the amount of consolidation in deals and shutdowns, especially that we're seeing in the video game industry. The industry is imploding. And I do think that the Xbox story stuff is tangentially related to that because I think the rug that was pulled out from under video game publishers and developers after 2020, 2021, and after their massive success of the pandemic era, I think they're still recovering from it, and you're still seeing the effects of that. And it's yeah, the video game industry was changed forever after that.
And the one thing that I would probably try and combat you that with the Xbox Chaos is indie games and their success this year, especially with Hollow Knight Silksong, as
Mhm.
everyone, as you mentioned, talking about it, trying to like guess when it was coming out, and then
Yeah,
releasing, and for a $20 price point. The success of Hades 2 as well, a sequel
yeah,
from Supermassive Games. The success of Blueprints, a puzzle game from a small developing studio. And then the winner of
yeah,
the Video Game Awards, Expedition 33, which started as a passion project and asking
yeah,
for like help on the internet and eventually just, becoming a solid double A studio title to win
yeah.
Game of the Year.
No, yeah, I don't think you're wrong, but I will say that you could have indie games success at any point basically
Multi
since
years.
2005. And I think the thing is that yes, it has been a snowball that's grown larger every year, and we are seeing like that come to a head in a little bit. But still, I feel like every couple of years we're like, wow, indie games are great. Like we're just going to keep doing that forever because the way that the video game mind is set up is because the way we've been kind of instructed over the years is the classic model was AAA, everybody covers the AAA games, and then there's an occasional indie game that's big that we talk about. I think that's changing now as distribution methods have changed, as Steam has gotten to be like the premier place to buy video games, as marketing practices have changed with social media, and as AAA studios have imploded. Like this year, we saw so many AAA studios, EA being this prime example, that are no longer the active, like, font of video games that they used to be. Game development got too expensive, and AAA games started becoming rarer, which meant what fills that gap? Indie games do. So I don't think that it's necessarily a story of 2025 because this is something that's going to keep happening in the same way. We're going to have more of these standout indie releases as more AAA games either disappoint or don't come out at all.
Yep. Um, and that's what we try and do here is what is the story of
Yeah.
2025? What's the
Right.
story of the year? And
And
like I
yeah.
said, yeah, indie games, do they come and go? They come in waves. Like every 3 years,
Right.
you get big
Yeah.
bursts of them. But Xbox, ooh,
Yeah. I can't imagine it not being the story of the year because, like I said, I've seen nothing like it. Like, and people who have been covering it longer than I have are just like just also reeling about what this means for consoles. Like a major Xbox. When you think about Xbox, you're thinking about like Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. It's been that way for almost 30 years. And this is the first thing to really challenge that since when Sega dropped out. Like, this is that big of a change. And it will have lasting and a lasting impact. Xbox is going to be no longer, I think, a brand that people think of associated with a quality console experience. I think that they have done a lot of work this year to undo that legacy.
all right. Xbox Chaos, story of the year
Yeah.
2025.
All right.
All right, now we get into our top five lists, and
Yes, I believe I'll go
you go
first
first.
because you went first in the last recording.
Mhm.
I will start and I'll go very quickly because we are running out of time. But at number five is a game that I was really, really, really hoping was going to be higher on this list. It was a really late arrival. I literally played it yesterday for the first time and put about 7 or so hours into it. I tried to play as much of the story mode as I possibly could. I dipped into the arcade mode as well. But I've got some disappointing news. Unbeatable is only number five on my list. And here's why. So this is a game that I backed on Kickstarter way back in 2022 when I first saw about the Kickstarter. I was the 1,440th backer. It was a very small project back then. Needless to say, they made their money fourfold. They were hard at work on development of this game, and it looked like a perfect project to me. It looked like a perfect combination of rhythm game and visual novel. And it had a look that was unlike anything else. It was really stylish. It like had an original soundtrack. It just like seemed like a recipe for easily one of my favorite games of the year. So, playing it yesterday, I had a very up and down experience with it. I think it is a very ambitious game. I think it is a very clever game. It does a lot of very cool stuff. I think there are segments of the story mode that are just look incredible, sound incredible. The music is great. The characters are endearing. I do think there's a lot of cool work done in the world building here, but there are just a handful of wrinkles in the experience that keep me from loving it with a capital L and keep it from being like a great like masterpiece of indie game design. I think that the storytelling is a little too vague and poetic. I think that they're trying to go for vibe more than they are to completely tell you what's going on. I think it does the story a little bit of damage, especially early on in the first hour of the game. I think it does get rolling later, but by the time you're there, you're still wondering. You still have those questions where you're like, "Wait, what happened? Like, wait, what are we doing? Like, who's like what?" And so it doesn't really give you a whole lot of breathing room because of the pace. It has to keep at breakneck speed throughout the story. I do really like what they've done with arcade mode. I think it's cool that there's a lot of competitive modes in there and a lot of leaderboard challenges and even customizing your like names and characters and stuff, which is really cool. Not customizing your characters, but like unlocking characters that you can play in the arcade mode. But the biggest and to me the most unforgivable part for me is in the story mode, there is no instant repeat if you fail a rhythm game segment. What are we doing? Some of them you just the game just can picks up and the story will continue after you failed in an interaction. And I don't know whether that means that I lost out on some sort of good version of the scene that takes place after it, if I missed out on some story content because of that, because I can't just pause and restart. It's wild to me. Like it is 2025. How are we making a video game where, oh, I failed that interaction, please let me restart it so that way I can try to beat it the second time? Because the rhythm game is fun. I want to play more of it. And it's weird that they're not giving me a chance. Then later, for some like boss style interactions, you do get to restart those if you fail because it's like story important that you win. But those, there'll be like a long cutscene that you have to click through beforehand before you can get pick back up the thing. And as people who play video games know, that is a cardinal sin if you want to just get back in and play something again, is to have to see the thing that you've just seen repeat in front of you every time that you die. So I do like it, and I do plan on finishing it. Um, but I do think that there's just little bits and pieces of the game that I just think are just not strong enough for me to be a fully recommend, but it is such a unique experience that I want to award it with at least a number five on the list.
I know it's a relatively new game, but you said you
Yeah.
have been backing it since 2022.
Yeah.
I saw some
Yeah.
gameplay of it, and it is very interesting. It does a
It's
bit
cool.
remind me of Hi-Fi Rush because it is a
Yeah.
little bit of action and beat 'em up, a little
Yes.
bit of a rhythm combined
Yeah.
with it.
It actually has a lot in common with how I felt also about Hi-Fi Rush, which is a game that's incredibly like ambitious and is trying to do a lot of things and has the vibes down and has an art style that's really cool, but actually playing it has some issues. And I think that both of those games are games that are so close to being amazing experiences and that just fall just a little bit short.
All right. So, hot question though. What would have been your number five then?
I think this is where probably Borderlands 4 would have been. I
Ah, I
think
had
that
a feeling.
because it barely missed it, just because it's just another Borderlands game. They really tightened it up. Oh yeah, I guess I didn't do honorable mentions, but I'll just say that Borderlands 4 is definitely an honorable mention for me. Didn't quite make it. All right, but moving on to my number four on the list, because now we don't have time for honorable
Hmm.
mentions. Is a sequel to one of my favorite games of the last 5 years, which is Power Wash Simulator 2. So of course, you know what you're getting into if you buy a game called this is it's going to be more of what you got in the first game. But here's the reason why this is on the list is because they have refined and tweaked every single problem I had with the original game and made it almost too smooth, like too too fun. Like they made it almost like the perfect version of this kind of experience. You can just go in, you can wash all the dirt, and it'll be like, and it guides you like with actual targets about stuff that you missed. The soap is no longer a thing that you have to keep buying. It is automatically just infinitely attached to you. You can soap up everything before you spray to make your job easier. There was co-op. Apparently, it had some issues when it first launched, but now it seems like those issues have been ironed out. So if you want to clean with friends, now you can do that really easily. They've just taken every single possible weakness and made it not a weakness anymore. It is like an unbelievable product now that you can just turn off your brain and just start cleaning. It is such a smooth experience. I recommend it to literally anyone who is interested in that kind of busy work game. It's a lot more fun than busy work sounds, trust me.
It's Power Wash Simulator. You know what you're
Yeah.
getting into,
You know what
especially
you're
because
getting
it's a
into.
sequel.
But this is like the ideal version of that idea. And so I
Okay.
have no hesitation about putting this on this list.
All right. So 2.0 version of Power Wash
Yes.
Simulator.
Exactly. All right, my number three is going to surprise you with its placement, or maybe it won't. I don't know. But number three is Hades 2.
Oh, I am surprised.
Hades was, of course, our game of the year for 2020. It was most people's game of the year for 2020. It was a juggernaut. It reinvigorated the rogue light in video games. It was like it is a lot of people's favorite game of the last 10 years for a good reason. It was such a streamlined, great experience that just got better the more you played it. Hades 2, also just as good. In fact, some could argue that some of the tweaks that they've made with the gameplay, especially how the casts can freeze your enemies in time, is maybe even a better playing game than Hades 1. I think that it's a fantastic game. I love the characters, I love the world. It is equally as strong to me as Hades 1. I know a lot of people have had issues with the story. I have not really run into those issues as much personally. I think that the world that they've built is just incredible. And the gameplay, just moment to moment, is just as addictive as it was in the first game. You're still having that rush of, oh, this time I'm going to try this certain weapon with these attributes, and I'm going to try maybe to lean myself towards this kind of build. I'm going to really like, I'm going to go mostly for, like powers that power up my cast. I'm going to mostly do stuff that just goes for attack or special. Everything feels really snappy in that Hades way that you want it to. And they basically doubled the size of the game by letting you go two different directions this time. So there's two different experiences that are equally as fun and equally as interesting. It feels endless in a way that Hades 1 even didn't feel. Even it was endless in its own way, but this feels even bigger and grander. But somehow it is still only number three on my list. And I think that that's more about me than it is about Hades 2. I think that where I'm at right now, I'm just not the person I was back in 2020 with all that free time burning through Hades. And so I've had less time for Hades 2, which means I've had less time to really get its claws around me. So I didn't have quite the same experience. It wasn't quite the all enveloping feeling that I got with Hades 1. So while it is arguably a better game, it's just not quite number one for me.
Now, is this because you got stuck and couldn't access that second level
I
because you
think part
couldn't
of it
find
was,
the
yeah,
chaos seed?
part of it did feel a little bit like I got a brick walled myself
Hmm.
at one point, and once I got past that hump, it did get a little bit better. But I do think that other games just felt more immediate for me this year, and I had a different experience with them.
I don't know how, because like I said, Hades was our game of the year in
It
2020,
was.
and it
Well,
does more refined work. It adds a second element in the magic combat system.
yeah,
It takes what the gods that you do know from the first game, puts them in here, adds more, and
yeah,
recontextualizes everything. And it's a race against time,
yeah.
literally and figuratively.
You're not wrong. It's an amazing game, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being our Media Boat game of the year. We'll get there, but like there are just two games that I like more than it,
Well, I
and
know what
I'll
at least
start.
one of them is,
Yeah,
and I have a feeling I know what
I
the
think you
second one is.
I think you can figure out both of these because welcome to the Switch 2 portion of the podcast because I'm going to
Yes.
talk about Switch 2 games. First, Donkey Kong Bonanza. The first time I sat down with this, I knew from the first room, the first 5 minutes of gameplay, that this was going to be something special. The moment to moment destruction of Donkey Kong just punching through dirt and walls and rocks and literally everything in front of his pathway is just feels so good. It is so hard to communicate without handing somebody a controller and being like, no, trust me. Every button, like Dan Reichert from Giant Bomb had this joke when he first played it in a preview build. He was like, every button is just fuck shit up in a direction, fuck shit up, fuck shit up left, fuck shit up right, fuck shit up down. That is Donkey Kong Bonanza. You are just literally punching through in every direction, every possible way. And the game knows how fun it is, and the game is built to give you an experience that encourages you to destroy everything in your path. You are rewarded constantly with trying to not necessarily cheat the game, but trying to find shortcuts that the game didn't even know. Similar to Mario Odyssey, which is a very like a cousin game to this. This is almost you could call a spiritual successor to Mario Odyssey. It is set up in similar ways where you're collecting these bananas that are spread across the entire world. And you could just stumble upon one in Donkey Kong Bonanza. You could just be tunneling through a rock and then just be like, "Oh, here's a banana. Oh, this is the end of some sort of puzzle on the other side of this that I was supposed to solve that I don't have to solve because I broke through the wall on the other side of the banana and got it anyways." The game doesn't care. The game wants you to have fun more than it wants you to follow its rules. So it's like, no, throw that out the window. You didn't have to solve that puzzle. You could just tunnel to that banana. And it an amazing feeling when you just keep doing that. Then on top of it, it's a surprisingly resonant story about like, you have Pauline in like as a like a 12-year-old like trying to like literally find her voice. It's endearing in a way that I didn't expect. The music is fun. It is probably the best platformer in years. I mean, compared to her game of the year last year, Astrobot. There's so many great like it feels like a throwback to an age of platformers that we don't get anymore. With the Bonanza transformations where you're all of a sudden like, oh, I'm a zebra that can dash really fast across things. It's like gameplay like that just doesn't exist anymore, and so I'm so happy that Nintendo is carrying that torch into the new generation with Donkey Kong. It revitalizes Donkey Kong. I think it revitalizes platformers, and it is just such a great opening salvo for the Switch 2 that this thing has some promise, and it shows really like it shows what the strengths of the system are. Immediate, fun gameplay that harkens back to an era in Nintendo that we all dearly miss, and I think it is amazing, amazing game.
And what about all those transformations?
Yeah, they're fun. They're really fun. You get to do you fly as an ostrich. It's just yeah, like it's just amazing. It's just like such a cool cavalcade of weird Donkey Kong things in one
Because that's
game.
the one thing that like all the reviews like kept shying away from because they didn't want to
Yeah.
spoil it.
Well, you
But
don't
now
want to
we're at the end
spoil
of the
it,
year.
but yeah, now we're here, and so we can talk about it. And yeah, I think there's a lot of really cool things you can do with that game. I haven't even finished it yet. There's just it's actually surprisingly long for what it is. And then there's DLC now where that introduces a whole new mode, and there's like even an artist mode where you're using the mouse on the Switch 2 controller to like create like a sculpture. It's like they really went overboard with this game in the best possible way, and I really appreciate it.
All right.
But
But it's not
not
your
as
number one
overboard
game,
as the
and
last one.
you can pick up your phone,
Yeah.
you can dial it in, you can say, "Oh yeah, this was an
Yeah.
easy call."
It was an easy call because this is made for me. Like, this is a game that I was a sicko for back when I was 13. None of my friends really understood why I liked Kirby Air Ride so much. But City Trial mode gave me a lot of very good summers back in the day. So just power up Super City Trial, break out some Pepsi Blues, and just have a great summer of 2003. Well, the summer 2003 is back, baby, just minus the Pepsi Blue. Because Kirby Air Riders, the sequel, is just as good and even better and even bigger and even wilder than that game even was. They've taken everything that was good about the original GameCube game and just blown it up into such a huge like it's such a huge like I don't even know where to begin. It's like everything is still there. City Trial is just as good, but there's so much new stuff and there's new riders and new machines and new modes and the road trip mode is such a good like way to like bundle everything the game does in a single player package that is so interesting and has a crazy story and it's just I can't, I know I don't have time, but like I'll just say this that like all I can really say about Kirby Air Riders is made one of my favorite games of all time even better, and for that it has to be number one on my list, right? Like I can't not put it here because it is such a pure version of it's like similar to Power Wash actually. Is just they took a thing that was a little rough around the edges and polished it in almost every single way to make it modern, and it feels like such a perfect invention, like such a perfect video game for the people who liked this game. I think there are going to be people who are overwhelmed by Kirby Air Riders as it is. It is constant chaos, but it's my kind of chaos.
Like I said, sometimes a game comes along and it's just made
Just for
specifically
you.
for you.
It's just for you.
And yeah, no, that's Kirby Air Riders for you.
Yeah.
Uh, I can't say much to it because I don't have Switch 2.
Yeah, you know
Kirby's
what
not
I'm
my favorite.
saying. All right. Yeah.
It's pretty much just a you game. But hey, this is your list. You do what you want.
It's my list. But here's your chance to talk about your list.
Yes, it's my list, and now I get to do what I want. And at number five is always my mobile game of the year selection. Now, I can't talk about Pokemon TCG Pocket, I've been playing that pretty much on the daily since it came out, because that was a last year game. Also, can't talk about Infinity Nikki because that was also a last year game.
Yes.
What did come out this year is DC Dark Legion,
Yeah.
which is not going to be on my top five
No,
because
it
I
is not.
bounced right off that thing.
No.
And a game that I thought was going to be on your top five, Umasune, Pretty Derby.
If we had gone through honorable mentions, I was going to mention that.
All right. Well, I'm not going to mention it here, or at
No,
least mention any more of it here,
we don't have time.
because
No.
one, I don't have time. Two, I bounced right off. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. That's a
Yeah,
you thing.
that's fine. It's fine.
All right. So here we are. That brings me to Lost Records, Rage in Bloom,
Cool.
tapes one and two.
And two.
Yes. This comes from Don't Nod, the studio behind Life is Strange. And it's yet another oddly world tale of nostalgia and awesome music.
Yeah.
Transitions between present day of the game as well as the summer of 95. And it kind of alternates between those two storylines where you have these shared memories with your friends and, hopefully gain some self-reflection along the way. But that's also part of the charming thing is that you also choose not to gain that self-reflection, just be an asshole to these people you haven't seen in like 20 years.
Yeah.
But but that's the core of it is that you want to have these shared like recollection, these shared memories. Like it was such like in the game, it's such like a perfect summer of what helped shape you that you want to help unsolve and unravel that
Yeah.
mystery through these different dialogue selections. But that's also the tricky part is that if you don't choose the specific dialogue selections, you don't get that true ending of the game.
Right. Yeah.
And
Which
it's the
can be
one thing that
disappointing
prevented
if you
me.
played through it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that prevented me from going back to this game is like, okay, let me just look online what the true ending is.
Right.
And it wasn't really as satisfying of an ending as I thought it would be. Um, it does also kind of leave the door open for any future tapes to happen, but it does also feel like they kind of closed the door on this chapter as well. Also, tape one was a lot better than tape two. So, in that sense, it feels like it didn't quite stick the landing with that second tape. And it felt like, okay, we don't really know where we want to go with tape two because we made all these decisions in tape one that we need to kind of shorten it and keep it tighter rather than
Right.
branch it out as much as it could have been.
Yeah. No, I really was excited for this game. I wanted to play it, but I just don't have the time for this kind of long sit down with headphones on and actually listen to a game's dialogue and music that I used to. And so, yeah, I don't know if I'm ever going to have time to get back to this, but I am very compelled with what they're providing here. I like the idea of swapping the timelines. I like the characters. I like the vibe. I will someday play this game.
All right.
Someday.
Someday. All right. Game I did play at number four is Sword of the Sea.
Yeah.
From the makers of Journey and Flower comes
Yeah.
their next, and again, silent protagonist. Set in beautiful landscapes, as Sword of the Sea is takes place in basically what are sand dunes in this kind of desolate wasteland. But you get to ride those dunes on a board, well, on a sword. A sort of a board.
Sword board.
Sort of a board. Sort of a board that is a sword. As you use the sword of the sea and ride and bring basically water and life back to this inhabited world. It's There's a rich story there if you choose to find it because you kind of go have to go out of your way to find all the different statues and read all the different notes because again, the characters do not talk in this game, so it's got a
Right.
lot of feel and emotion through it, through its music, through its visuals, through everything surrounding the game that's non-dialogue based. But you do get the sense of both fear, dread, impediment, as well as hope and wonder
Yeah.
through this game as you kind of traverse all around it. And the
Yeah.
traversal is kind of the best part of it because if that traversal sucked, this game would have
Right. You
sucked.
wouldn't want to play it at all. Yeah, no, I really loved Journey and Flower. So this seems like in the lineage, and that's really awesome that they're still at it and they're still making games that are that resonant for people. And yeah, I saw a lot of people really like this.
Yeah, the game does feel a bit repetitive times. You're trying to go to this point and this point, gather
Yeah,
this item, but they don't stick around for too long in the areas, which helps everything move a lot quick, a lot faster.
right.
Also, that final battle, when it switches things up, really sticks with you.
Oh, I bet. All right, but there are three more.
There's three more. At number three is a game that I infernally love and hate.
Yes.
It is both the best and worst thing to come out this year. Because either you liked it or you didn't understand it and you bounced right off of it.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm talking about the puzzle game Blueprints,
Yeah.
as it's a rogue-like game where each day the rooms change depending on the different cards that you pull. It's kind of like a deck builder, but also like a roguelike,
Mhm.
where you're trying to reach the mythical room 46, if you can.
Yeah.
But, even when you do reach the mythical room 46 door, that's not necessarily the end of the game. And even when you do get past through the door, that's not necessarily the end of the game because there's so many puzzles in each and every room. There's so many puzzles each and outside of the house that they all interconnect and intertwine, and it's just this frustrating game of, oh, I get it, and also, oh my God, here's another puzzle. God damn it, God damn it, God damn it, here's another puzzle.
Right.
Why
Yeah.
do I just keep banging my head against this? But I love the art direction. I love everything about this game. I love the puzzles. Don't get me wrong. The puzzles are infuriating, but once you solve them, you're like, oh my God, that was fantastic. Oh my God, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
And oh, I see how this connects here. Or you stumble across a piece and like, oh, let me go and do that now over here. And
Right.
things end up working out.
Yeah.
But watching speedruns of this is great and fun.
Whole nother thing. Yeah.
Watching the very, very secret hidden room to get there is also great and fun. But also, if you don't have a notepad or an Excel sheet and like write down everything that
Yeah.
happens, it's very, very easy to get lost as a casual playthrough.
Yeah.
But because it's so like intricately created, it's why it's this high on the list.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it
Makes
would
sense.
probably be moved down.
Right. But yeah, no, you gotta admit that it's ambitious. That's for sure.
It's a very ambitious game that I'm happy to enjoy.
But not your top two.
No, that brings me with two games. And
Yes.
if you listen to this podcast, you know what the two games are, but I
Yeah.
bet you don't know what order they are.
Well, I do because I'm reading it right now.
I know you are. At number two is Hades 2.
And we don't have time to talk a lot about it. So we'll just say everything that you just said when I was talking about it is true. It's great.
Yes, it's true. It's
Yeah.
great. And for all the same reasons why it's not your number one game, is
Yeah.
why it's my number two game here.
Yeah.
Because, just like you said, sometimes there's a game that comes out that's created and crafted just for you.
Just for you.
And that's what I have here with my number one game this year.
Yes.
Funny how that works out.
Yeah.
In Digimon Time Strangers.
Yeah, you called this. You knew this was your game of the year when you played it.
Oh, come on. You got Digimon. You got
Yeah.
time travel. You got Greek
Greek
mythos thrown into
mythology.
it.
Yeah.
You got anime. You got epic battles, compelling narrative. It's basically me, the video game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Uh,
Just
it's
if
this
there was
high
a
up.
Linkin Park song in it, then it would be you, the video game.
Oh, that's the thing. You could add songs to it too.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway.
Anyways, yeah, it's basically just everything that I love. Put my childhood like all wrapped up. Put everything that like I secretly like love all wrapped up into a big bottle. Throw it into
Yeah.
a blender, mix it into a video game, spit it out. You got Digimon Time Stranger. it feels like a game crafted specifically for me. It goes through all the different biomes of the digital world. It has very different, unique branching story paths with it too. Uh, and the twist ending makes everything fit, makes everything work. You understand,
Yeah,
like, oh, that's why this happened. That's why this is here.
right,
That's why, especially when you go through a replay of it, it's like, oh, yes, now I understand why this all makes sense now, why they're talking like this.
right.
And very close platinum. I say I usually platinum these games. Very close. Haven't done Mega Plus, but I have to build up my characters to do that. But as soon as I do,
Right.
I'm gonna get there.
All right. Well, you'll report back. But in the meantime, now that we have our top fives, we need to decide one game, and this is not hard.
No,
It's
no, we don't need
Hades
to
2.
decide. We don't need to decide.
Yeah,
I
we don't
decided
have
for
time
us a
to
long
really
time
talk
ago.
about it, but yes, it is Hades 2. It's on both of our lists for a reason. It is the sequel to Hades. It just makes sense for it to be the Media Boat Podcast Game of the Year. So there you go, Supergiant Games. You did it again. Congratulations. Your trophy is in the mail.
Yes, but we do have some honorable
We
mentions.
don't have time for it.
I'll just go through them real quickly because we also talked about
I'm already, yeah.
yet Avowed, South of Midnight, Pokemon Friends, Everybody's Golf, Borderlands 4, as you mentioned, and of course, MLB The Show 25. Every year
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah, well, maybe it'll be on the list next year, but maybe on the phone. We'll see. But yes, thank you for joining us for a Media Vote wrap up edition. We'll be back with others on your feed. Look to your feed and see if they're all available now. You can just listen to all of them right now. If not, we'll have ones for video games, or sorry, this was video games, for music, television, and movies as well. Stay tuned, enjoy, happy holidays, and we'll see you next time.
Unless you're in the future, in which case you can listen to them
Yes.
right now.
All
All right,
right.
bye.
Have fun. Bye.